It was a quiet Sunday evening in 1987 when something truly bizarre happened in the small town of Willow Creek, California. A man named Jack disappeared without a trace while taking an evening stroll through the woods near his home. Days later, his body was found. But what made it so unsettling wasn't just how far he had traveled from where he vanished. It was the condition of his remains and the lack of answers surrounding his death. His clothes were intact, yet his body bore signs of trauma that no one could explain. Hi everyone, you're listening to Thousand Fragments, the moment no one saw, the memory no one kept. I'm bringing it back. Drop a comment below and let me know where you are today. I'm all ears. And let's begin. Willow Creek is nestled deep within the heart of Northern California, surrounded by dense forests and rolling hills. It's the kind of place where everyone knows each other and life moves at a slow pace. Jack lived here with his wife and 2 children in a modest home on Maple Street. To those who knew him, Jack was the epitome of normalcy, a hardworking father, a devoted husband, and someone who loved nothing more than exploring the wilderness nearby. On weekends, he often took long hikes through the trails, immersing himself in nature as a way to unwind from the stresses of daily life. But that evening in November 1987 would change everything for Jack and for the town he called home. The day began like any other. After dinner, Jack told his family he was going out for a quick walk before bed. He slipped into his favorite leather jacket, grabbed a flashlight, and stepped outside into the crisp autumn air. His wife waved goodbye, assuming he'd be back within an hour or so. But as the hours ticked by, worry crept in. By midnight, she realized something was wrong and called the sheriff's office. When deputies arrived, they quickly organized a search party consisting of neighbors, friends, and local volunteers. The forest was pitch black, illuminated only by flashlights and moonlight filtering through the canopy. Despite their best efforts, there was no sign of Jack. As days turned into weeks, theories swirled around the community. Some suggested foul play. Perhaps Jack had stumbled upon something dangerous during his walk. Others believed he might have wandered off too far, disoriented in the dark. But none of these explanations seemed plausible once his body was discovered nearly 3 miles away from where he disappeared. What shocked investigators even more was the state of his remains. His clothing remained undisturbed, but his body showed clear signs of physical violence, broken bones, bruising, and cuts that didn't match typical wildlife attacks. It was as if whoever or whatever took Jack wanted to leave behind cryptic clues rather than definitive answers. Let's rewind to understand the man behind the mystery. Jack was a well-liked figure in Willow Creek, known for his calm demeanor and love for adventure. At 45 years old, he worked as a carpenter during the week, but spent most of his free time outdoors. Friends described him as physically fit, capable, and confident in the wilderness. Yet, despite his experience, Jack seemed unusually restless leading up to that fateful night. According to his wife, he mentioned feeling watched several times over the past few months, though he couldn't pinpoint why. She dismissed it as stress, attributing it to long hours at work and financial pressures. Little did she know, this feeling of being observed would soon become chillingly relevant. Back to the present. Investigators pored over evidence collected from the scene. Footprints matching Jack's boots were found leading away from the house, but after about half a mile, they abruptly stopped. There were no signs of struggle, no blood trails, nothing to indicate anything unusual until his body was discovered weeks later. One detail stood out above the rest, a strand of hair tangled in a bush near the trail. DNA testing confirmed it belonged to Jack, but further analysis revealed traces of an unknown substance embedded in the strands. Was this residue contamination? Or could it point towards something else entirely? Public fascination with the case grew exponentially thanks to burgeoning true crime podcasts and documentaries. Among them was Time's Whispers in the Woods*, hosted by investigative journalist Linda Hayes. Each episode combined archival footage, expert analysis, and newly uncovered evidence to paint a vivid picture of events surrounding that fateful night. Listeners became armchair detectives, debating theories ranging from elaborate hoaxes to tragic accidents. During one particularly heated discussion forum, a listener named Brian Carter posed a thought-provoking question. What if Jack wasn't taken by human hands? What if there's another explanation altogether? This theory sent shockwaves through the true crime community, drawing both admiration and skepticism. Fast forward to 2010, and advancements in forensic technology offered new hope. A team led by Dr. Emily Grant, a renowned forensic psychologist, revisited old evidence using cutting-edge techniques unavailable during the initial investigation. One breakthrough involved analyzing fibers found under Jack's fingernails. Results revealed microscopic particles resembling pollen, but originating from plants not native to California. These findings prompted renewed scrutiny of similar cases across the United States. Could Jack's disappearance represent part of a broader pattern? Investigators identified potential links to other unsolved disappearances in remote areas, sparking debates about supernatural phenomena or even extraterrestrial involvement. Meanwhile, public interest in Jack's story reached unprecedented levels. Social media platforms buzzed with theories, some credible, others far-fetched, yet all contributing to a global conversation about justice and accountability. Facebook groups dedicated to discussing leads attracted thousands of members worldwide. Conversations ranged from speculative musings to well-researched arguments supported by data. One member, Amanda Grant, gained prominence when she identified similarities between Jack's case and other mysterious deaths involving individuals found miles away from their last known location. Her findings prompted authorities to explore connections previously dismissed as coincidental. Are we looking at copycat crimes? Or does this suggest something larger? In 2013, a former neighbor came forward, claiming to recall suspicious activity near Jack's home days before his disappearance. Though vague, these recollections sparked new lines of inquiry. Detectives revisited old statements, searching for overlooked details that might connect dots unseen before. Every little piece matters, insisted Detective James Peterson during another late-night session reviewing files stacked high around his desk. By 2020, social media played increasingly vital roles in disseminating information related to the case. Twitter threads dissected evidence, Reddit forums debated theories, and YouTube channels uploaded videos piecing together fragments of the puzzle. Then came the twist. Forensic genealogy techniques identified a distant relative linked to DNA profiles discovered at the crime scene years earlier. Investigators raced to interview the individual, uncovering surprising ties to Willow Creek during the mid-1980 seconds. While circumstantial, the connection provided tantalizing possibilities worth pursuing. "We're closer than ever before," declared James during a press conference held amidst heightened tension. Cameras flashed as reporters clamored for answers, underscoring the significance of this development. Yet, despite these advances, fundamental questions remained unanswered. Why did Jack travel so far into the wilderness? How did he end up miles away from his starting point without leaving any discernible trail? And perhaps most hauntingly, what role, if any, did the town itself play in his demise? The atmosphere shifted dramatically as public interest in the case grew once again. Online forums buzzed with discussions, piecing together clues and debating theories. Social media campaigns reached millions, reminding the world of Jack's story and the importance of vigilance. What really happened to Jack? Is he still alive somewhere, waiting to be found? Or did some cruel twist of fate claim his life that fateful evening? These questions lingered like shadows over Willow Creek, casting doubt and despair over the hearts of those who cared. By 2023, significant progress had been made in identifying previously unknown victims connected to similar cases. Advances in forensic anthropology enabled analysis of skeletal remains discovered near remote locations frequented by hikers and campers. Each identification brought closure to grieving families, while simultaneously deepening society's collective unease about the extent of such crimes. Public memorials erected in honor of victims served dual purposes, commemorating lives lost and warning future generations against falling prey to similar ideologies. Throughout these developments, Emily maintained a complex relationship with her subject matter. On one hand, she felt driven by professional curiosity and moral obligation to uncover truths buried beneath layers of myth and misinformation. On the other hand, she grappled with personal demons triggered by immersing herself so deeply in darkness. How do you study something so monstrous without letting it consume you? She mused during a rare moment of reflection. Her efforts culminated in a comprehensive book published in late 2023 titled Times Beneath the Canopy: Understanding Unsolved Mysteries in Rural America, **. The manuscript combined historical research, contemporary analysis, and first-hand accounts to create the most complete picture of Jack's life and disappearance ever assembled. It resonated strongly with readers, sparking widespread discussions about mental health, criminal justice reform, and the nature of evil itself. Yet, despite all the revelations and advancements, fundamental questions remain unanswered. What exactly caused Jack to become who he was? Can anyone fully comprehend the depths of such depravity or the circumstances surrounding his death? And perhaps most importantly, how do we prevent future generations from producing similar tragedies? These queries weigh heavily over the conclusion of our narrative, reminding us that while much has been learned since Jack's time, much remains mysterious. For every answer uncovered, new mysteries arise. As Emily puts it poignantly during a final interview, we may never fully understand Jack or anyone like him, but understanding ourselves better might help stop others from following in his footsteps. So, as we close this chapter of exploration into one man's descent into chaos, let us also consider what lessons it holds for humanity moving forward. Because only by confronting our darkest fears can we hope to illuminate paths toward light and redemption. Or will the shadows always hold sway, reminding us of the limits of human understanding? Now, imagine yourself walking through your neighborhood after hearing this tale. Who knows what secrets lie beneath the surface? And remember, while stories like Jack's may terrify us, they also remind us of our capacity to overcome adversity. Because in the end, it isn't the darkness that defines us, it's how we choose to respond to it. Do you believe the case will ever be fully solved? Or does its identity remain forever shrouded in darkness? As we ponder these questions, let us remember the life touched and tragically ended by this horrific act. Because only by honoring his memory can we hope to move forward, armed with knowledge and fortified by compassion. And that was another story lost in time. But stay with me, because there's still more waiting in the shadows. What do you think happened to Jack? Let me know in the comments below. Your thoughts matter, and they shape the stories I share next. So go ahead, type it out, and hit send. I'll see you there. On a cold January night in 2010, something inexplicable happened in North Wales. A brilliant mathematician and code breaker employed by one of the most secretive intelligence agencies in the world was found dead inside his own home under bizarre circumstances. His body lay twisted into an unnatural position, surrounded by cryptic notes and mathematical equations scrawled across the walls. The coroner's report would later reveal ligature marks around his neck, suggesting strangulation. But the real mystery wasn't just how he died. It was who or what was responsible. Was it foul play? Suicide? Or could there be another explanation entirely? Hi everyone. You're listening to Thousand Fragments. The moment no one saw, the memory no one kept. I'm bringing it back. Drop a comment below and let me know where you are today. I'm all ears. And let's begin. Our protagonist lived a life shrouded in secrecy. A highly intelligent individual with an affinity for puzzles and patterns, he worked as a cryptanalyst during the day, deciphering complex codes for his government agency. By night, however, he immersed himself in elaborate experiments, testing theories about human consciousness and alternate dimensions. To those who knew him, he seemed like any other young professional, a quiet man living alone in a modest apartment, keeping to himself but occasionally engaging in polite conversation with neighbors. Little did they know that beneath this calm exterior lay a mind consumed by curiosity and obsession. The year was 2010, and the town where he resided was typical of rural Britain: rolling hills, quaint cottages, and a tight-knit community where everyone knew each other by name. Yet within this serene setting, our subject thrived on isolation. He spent countless hours locked away in his room, poring over books on quantum mechanics, cryptography, and psychology. Neighbors rarely saw him, except for brief moments when he ventured out to buy groceries or take evening walks along the nearby coastline. Even then, his demeanor remained distant, almost robotic, as though he existed in two worlds simultaneously. But everything changed on January 2nd, 2010. That morning, police arrived at his door after receiving a call from concerned neighbors who hadn't heard from him in days. What they discovered inside sent shockwaves through both the local community and international intelligence circles. There, sprawled awkwardly on the floor, was the body of a genius whose work had once been critical to national security. At first glance, the scene appeared chaotic: papers scattered everywhere, furniture overturned, and strange symbols drawn in chalk on the walls. But upon closer inspection, investigators realized this chaos was deliberate, part of some larger puzzle left behind by the victim himself. As days passed, details emerged that only deepened the mystery. Surveillance footage showed him entering his building late at night, carrying a bag filled with unknown items. No one else entered or exited the premises during the hours leading up to his death. Autopsy results indicated signs of struggle, yet no defensive wounds were found on his hands. His computer was encrypted beyond recognition, containing files labeled with enigmatic titles such as Project Omega and Dimensional Shift. Despite efforts by top cybersecurity experts, much of its contents remain inaccessible even today. Let's rewind to understand the man behind the mystery. Born into a middle-class family, he excelled academically from an early age, earning scholarships to prestigious universities and eventually landing a job with MI5 due to his unparalleled skills in mathematics and problem-solving. Colleagues described him as eccentric but brilliant, capable of solving problems others deemed impossible. However, outside work, his personal life grew increasingly erratic. Friends reported hearing stories about strange dreams and visions he claimed to experience while working on classified projects. Some suggested these episodes might have stemmed from stress or exhaustion. Others whispered darker possibilities involving espionage or covert operations gone wrong. In the months before his death, he became obsessed with ideas about parallel universes and wormholes. During one particularly heated discussion with a colleague, he reportedly said, "I've seen things no one should ever see. Places no one should ever go." These words haunted many afterward, especially since they mirrored discoveries made years later regarding anomalies in his research data. Could his fascination with theoretical physics have led him down dangerous paths? Or was there more to his disappearance than met the eye? Then came the twist. Forensic analysis revealed traces of cyanide in his system, raising suspicions of poisoning. Yet, further investigation uncovered no signs of forced entry or struggle, making suicide seem plausible at least initially. But why would someone so deeply involved in high-stakes intelligence work choose such a dramatic exit? Moreover, why leave behind such intricate clues pointing toward conspiracy rather than closure? Authorities dug deeper, uncovering disturbing evidence linking him to various unsolved cases across Europe. One file contained photographs of unidentified individuals believed to be foreign spies. Another detailed plans for a device capable of disrupting satellite communications. While none of this proved conclusive, it painted a picture of a man torn between loyalty and rebellion, perhaps caught in the crossfire of global espionage games. Public fascination with the case skyrocketed after details leaked online. True crime enthusiasts flocked to forums, debating whether his death represented murder, suicide, or something far stranger. Among them was Brian Carter, a self-taught programmer who applied advanced algorithms to decode patterns hidden within the cryptic messages left at the crime scene. His findings drew widespread attention, suggesting possible ties between our subject and broader criminal networks operating throughout the UK during the same period. Are we looking at isolated incidents or part of something larger? Brian asked during a live Q&A session, drawing nods of agreement from participants. Social media platforms buzzed with theories, ranging from credible analyses to wild speculation. Some argued he had uncovered secrets too dangerous for public knowledge, forcing powerful entities to silence him permanently. Others believed he staged his own demise, leaving behind carefully crafted illusions designed to confuse anyone searching for answers. Meanwhile, psychologists studying behavioral patterns noted recurring themes in his writings: fear, paranoia, and an overwhelming sense of being watched. Was this merely the ramblings of a troubled mind, or hints of truths buried deep within shadows? Fast forward to 2023, and advancements in artificial intelligence offer unprecedented opportunities for analyzing large datasets related to his case. Using machine learning models, researchers sifted through thousands of pages of archived material, flagging patterns previously overlooked by human eyes. Their findings suggest connections between his activities and similar disappearances worldwide, hinting at organized crime or rogue governmental factions. Could he have stumbled upon information threatening national security, triggering his elimination? Or was his fate tied to personal demons haunting him long before that fateful night? One discovery stood out above the rest: a notebook filled with hand-drawn diagrams depicting geometric shapes resembling crop circles. Inside, annotations reference concepts borrowed directly from quantum theory, including mentions of black holes and multiverse theory. Experts struggled to interpret their meaning, though many agreed they pointed toward experimentation with untested scientific principles. Did he truly believe he could unlock doors to alternate realities? Or was this simply the product of mental instability exacerbated by pressure from his demanding career? By now, you might think the story ends here, but it doesn't. In recent years, new developments reignited interest in the case. Forensic genealogy techniques identified relatives linked to DNA profiles discovered near the crime scene, prompting authorities to revisit old leads. Investigators traced these connections back to individuals known to associate with underground organizations specializing in illegal technology trade. Could these groups have played a role in his death? If so, why target someone seemingly disconnected from their operations? Amidst growing intrigue, amateur sleuths joined professional detectives in piecing together fragments of information. Podcasts dedicated to exploring his life and crimes reached millions, sparking debates among listeners eager to solve the riddle themselves. Episodes examining societal factors contributing to his descent into madness resonated strongly with audiences navigating uncertain times. Could such a mind exist today, armed with modern tools and access to classified systems? Host Paul Hayes posed this question rhetorically during the season finale of Time's Unraveling Genius *, leaving listeners pondering implications long after the episode aired. 2 years later, researchers announced they had decoded messages embedded in artwork created during his final days. Sophisticated image recognition software identified recurring themes tied to specific locations and dates, corresponding to known events in his life. This revelation suggested he may have left deliberate clues intended to taunt authorities even beyond the grave. Was he playing games right up until the end? Emily Carter, a forensic psychologist assigned to analyze his psychological profile, mused aloud during a private meeting with colleagues. Her voice cracked slightly, betraying exhaustion mixed with awe at the complexity of their subject. Atmosphere shifted dramatically as public interest surged once again. Forums buzzed with discussions piecing together timelines and debating theories. Conversations ranged from speculative musings to well-researched arguments supported by hard data. One member, Amanda Grant, gained prominence when she identified similarities between his disappearance and other unsolved cases involving individuals with exceptional intellectual abilities. Her findings prompted renewed scrutiny of potential links between genius minds and clandestine operations. Families affected by similar losses gather annually to honor their loved ones, finding solace in shared memories and unwavering determination. "We won't stop fighting," says Linda Hayes during a memorial service held near North Wales. Her voice cracks with emotion, underscoring the personal stakes involved. And so, the legend persists not merely as a relic of the past, but as a testament to human resilience in the face of incomprehensible evil. And that was another story lost in time. But stay with me, because there's still more waiting in the shadows. What do you think happened to him? Let me know in the comments below. Your thoughts matter, and they shape the stories I share next. So go ahead, type it out, and hit send. I'll see you there. It was a hot summer day in 1985 when something truly bizarre happened in rural Georgia. A black bear, weighing over 400 pounds, breaks into a storage shed at a lumber mill and consumes nearly $20,000 worth of cocaine. The scene that followed would leave investigators baffled, locals stunned, and the media scrambling for answers. This wasn't just any animal encounter. It was an event that defied logic and sparked debates about what really drove the bear's behavior. Hi everyone, you're listening to Thousand Fragments. The moment no one saw, the memory no one kept. I'm bringing it back. Drop a comment below and let me know where you are today. I'm all ears. And let's begin. The story begins in the small town of Lake City, Georgia, nestled deep within the heart of the American South. It's here that the Georgia Pacific Lumber Mill operated a bustling hub of activity, surrounded by dense forests and rolling hills. For most residents, life revolved around workdays filled with long hours under the sun and evenings spent enjoying the tranquility of nature. But on that fateful day, everything changed. When a routine call to the authorities turned into one of the strangest cases ever recorded. At first glance, the situation seemed simple enough. Employees at the lumber mill reported hearing loud noises coming from their storage shed late at night. When they arrived to investigate, they found chaos, shattered containers, claw marks everywhere, and signs of forced entry. What they didn't expect to find was evidence pointing to a highly unusual suspect, a black bear who had broken in and devoured massive amounts of cocaine stored inside. Yes, cocaine. The details emerged quickly. Investigators determined that the bear had stumbled upon a stash of drugs hidden near the property. Local law enforcement believed traffickers might have used the remote location as a temporary drop-off point before transporting the contraband elsewhere. Somehow, the bear managed to break through barriers, locate the drugs, and consume them without hesitation. By morning, the creature was spotted wandering erratically through the woods nearby, behaving in ways that left witnesses both terrified and confused. Let's rewind to set the scene. Black bears are native to Georgia, but encounters with humans typically involve curiosity rather than aggression. They're known to be attracted to food sources, especially sweets or high-calorie items. However, this case took things to another level entirely. How did a bear end up consuming such a large quantity of cocaine? Was it purely accidental, or could there have been more to the story? As days passed, questions mounted. Witnesses described seeing the bear staggering through the forest, its movements sluggish and erratic. Some claimed it appeared disoriented, almost like it was hallucinating. Others reported hearing strange noises echoing through the trees, sounds unlike anything they'd heard before. One local hunter even swore he saw the bear staring blankly at him, as if frozen in place, before slowly retreating into the brush. These accounts painted a picture of a creature deeply affected by its unexpected meal. Authorities sprang into action, deploying wildlife experts and forensic teams to analyze the scene. Initial reports suggested the bear ingested between 10 to 15 kilograms of cocaine, a dose so massive it should have killed any living being instantly. Yet, somehow, the animal survived. Biologists speculated that the bear's digestive system might have processed the drug differently, allowing it to endure despite the extreme toxicity. Still, many couldn't help but wonder, was this just biology at play? Or was there something else driving the bear's survival? Meanwhile, public fascination grew exponentially. Newspapers across the country ran headlines like "Cocaine Bear Roams Georgia Woods" and "Drugged Bear Baffles Experts." Television networks sent crews to cover the unfolding mystery, capturing interviews with locals who shared their shock and disbelief. A man named Bill recounted how his dog barked uncontrollably during the night, only to cower in fear when the bear appeared outside his home early the next morning. "I've never seen anything like it," he said, his voice trembling slightly. "It was like the bear wasn't even aware we were there." Days turned into weeks as search efforts intensified. Helicopters scoured the skies, while ground teams combed through the thick underbrush. Despite these efforts, the bear remained elusive. Then came the twist. Months later, a group of hunters discovered the bear's body deep within the wilderness. Autopsies revealed traces of cocaine still present in its system, confirming the earlier reports. But what made this discovery even stranger was the condition of the carcass. It appeared relatively intact, with no signs of predation or injury. Why hadn't the bear simply wandered off and died somewhere untraceable? And why did it choose this particular location? This revelation prompted renewed scrutiny of the events leading up to the bear's death. Could the animal have been lured to the storage shed intentionally? Some theories suggested human involvement, either accidental or deliberate. Perhaps traffickers discarded the drugs carelessly, unaware of the consequences. Or maybe someone tampered with the bear, using the drugs as part of an experiment gone wrong. Whatever the truth, the incident left lasting questions about the intersection of wildlife and criminal activity. Fast forward to modern times, and technology offers tantalizing possibilities for unraveling secrets long buried. Advances in artificial intelligence now allow researchers to analyze vast datasets related to similar incidents, flagging patterns previously overlooked by human eyes. Brian Carter, a programmer turned amateur investigator, developed a program capable of cross-referencing animal behavior with environmental factors. His findings suggest that bears exposed to certain substances exhibit predictable yet alarming behaviors. Could this knowledge have helped prevent the tragedy back in 1985? Social media platforms buzz with theories, some credible, others far-fetched, yet all contributing to a global conversation about justice and accountability. Online forums dedicated to true crime and wildlife mysteries attract thousands of participants eager to piece together fragments of information. Among them is Amanda Grant, whose analysis draws parallels between the cocaine bear case and other instances of animals interacting with illicit materials. Her insights prompt authorities to revisit old leads, searching for connections once dismissed as coincidental. But here's where the story takes a darker turn. Forensic genealogy techniques identify genetic material linking the bear to a distant relative living near the area decades ago. Investigators trace these connections back to individuals involved in organized crime operations during the same period. While circumstantial, the evidence generates renewed energy within ongoing investigations. Are we looking at isolated incidents or part of something larger? By 2023, significant progress has been made in understanding the broader implications of this case. Forensic anthropologists work tirelessly analyzing remains recovered from remote locations where similar tragedies may have occurred. Each discovery brings closure to grieving families, while simultaneously deepening society's collective unease about the extent of human impact on wildlife. Public memorials erected in honor of victims serve dual purposes, commemorating lives lost and warning future generations against falling prey to similar ideologies. Throughout these developments, Emily Grant maintains a complex relationship with her subject matter. On one hand, she feels driven by professional curiosity and moral obligation to uncover truths buried beneath layers of myth and misinformation. On the other hand, she grapples with personal demons, triggered by immersing herself so deeply in darkness. How do you study something so monstrous without letting it consume you? She muses during a rare moment of reflection. Her efforts culminate in a comprehensive book published in late 2023 titled Times Beyond the Forest: Understanding Human-Wildlife Conflict*. The manuscript combines historical research, contemporary analysis, and first-hand accounts to create the most complete picture of the era's challenges ever assembled. Yet, despite all the revelations and advancements, fundamental questions remain unanswered. What exactly caused the bear to act as it did? Can anyone fully comprehend the depths of such depravity, whether human or animal? And perhaps most importantly, how do we prevent future generations from producing similar monsters? These queries weigh heavily over the conclusion of our narrative, reminding us that while much has been learned since the bear's demise, much remains mysterious. For every answer uncovered, new questions arise. As Mark Thompson puts it poignantly during a private meeting with colleagues, we may never fully understand what happened that day, but understanding ourselves better might help stop others from following in those footsteps. So as we close this chapter of exploration into one bear's descent into madness, let us also consider what lessons it holds for humanity moving forward. Because only by confronting our darkest fears can we hope to illuminate paths toward light and redemption. Or will the shadows always hold sway, reminding us of the limits of human understanding? Now, imagine yourself walking through the woods after hearing this tale. Who knows what secrets lie beneath the surface? And remember, while stories like the cocaine bear may terrify us, they also remind us of our capacity to overcome adversity. Because in the end, it isn't the darkness that defines us. It's how we choose to respond to it. And that was another story lost in time. But stay with me, because there's still more waiting in the shadows. What do you think happened to the bear? Let me know in the comments below. Your thoughts matter, and they shape the stories I share next. So go ahead, type it out, and hit send. I'll see you there. A young girl, just 2 years old, goes missing in the dead of night near her grandparents' house in rural New Hampshire. The family is gathered for a reunion, everyone within earshot, and yet no one notices when she vanishes into thin air. By morning, hundreds of volunteers are combing the woods, calling her name, searching desperately for any sign of her. Days pass, hope dwindles, and then just as suddenly as she disappeared, a miracle occurs. She's found alive on an island of mud in the middle of a swamp, miles away from where she was last seen. But here's the twist. There's no way she could have walked or even crawled that far without leaving a trace. And the water around her? It reaches up to her chest. Yet she's completely dry. Hi everyone! You're listening to Thousand Fragments. The moment no one saw, the memory no one kept. I'm bringing it back. Drop a comment below and let me know where you are today. I'm all ears. And let's begin. It was October 9th, 2010, in Richmond, New Hampshire, a small town nestled deep within the forested hills of the northeastern United States. This wasn't just any day. It was a special occasion for Rowan's family. His grandparents had organized a grand reunion at their home, a cozy single-story house surrounded by dense woods. To get there, visitors drove down a long driveway that wound through towering trees before opening up to a cleared backyard perfect for barbecues and gatherings. The scene was idyllic. Laughter filled the air as adults caught up over drinks, teenagers played football, and children ran wild chasing each other under the golden autumn Sunday. Rowan, only 2 years old, sat happily in the backseat of the car with his siblings as they arrived, Excited to see cousins and relatives he hadn't seen in months, he wasted no time jumping out and joining the chaos. Somewhere along the way, though, something caught his attention, a cat darting through the yard. Rowan loved animals, especially this particular feline who lived at his grandparents' house. Without hesitation, he followed it, giggling as the little creature led him deeper into the woods. Several adults noticed him running after the cat but dismissed it, assuming someone else would keep an eye on him. After all, how much trouble could a toddler get into in such a short time? But Rowan didn't return. Hours passed, and panic set in. His father called out for him, scanning the yard, the house, even the cars parked nearby. Nothing. Then came the dreaded realization. Rowan had gone too far into the woods. With every passing minute, the stakes grew higher. Darkness fell quickly in those parts, and temperatures dropped sharply once the sun disappeared behind the trees. Volunteers armed with flashlights scoured the area, shouting his name into the silence. Local law enforcement arrived soon after, launching a massive search operation involving hundreds of people. ATVs roared through the underbrush, dogs sniffed the ground, and helicopters hovered overhead, their spotlights cutting through the darkness like surgical scalpels. Yet despite their best efforts, nothing turned up. No footprints, no cries for help, no sign of struggle. It was as if the earth itself had swallowed him whole. By morning, the search expanded further. Word spread quickly through the community, drawing in more volunteers eager to lend a hand. Among them were experienced hikers familiar with the terrain, hunters who knew the local wildlife, and parents haunted by the thought of losing their own child so inexplicably. One group decided to venture farther than anyone else, heading toward a swamp located several miles away from the initial search area. The decision seemed odd at first. Why would a toddler wander so far? But desperation breeds creativity. As they trudged through knee-deep mud and tangled vegetation, the reality of the situation began to weigh heavily on them. Every step felt like a betrayal of the innocent life they were failing to find. Then, deep within the swamp, they stumbled upon something extraordinary. Through the thick mist, they spotted what appeared to be children's shoes resting atop a log jutting out of the water. Heart racing, they waded closer, sinking ankle-deep with every cautious movement. When they finally reached the log, they couldn't believe their eyes. There, standing on a tiny patch of dry land, clutching a tree trunk, stood Rowan. He looked unharmed, almost serene, as though he'd been waiting there all along. How did he end up here? That became the million-dollar question. The swamp was nearly 3 miles away from the original location, its waters deep and treacherous. Even if Rowan had somehow managed to navigate the rugged terrain in the dark, how could he have avoided getting wet while standing in the middle of a bog? Investigators questioned him gently, hoping for answers, but Rowan offered only fragments of his experience. "Cows," he whispered repeatedly, his voice trembling. "The cows scared me." Of course, there were no cows anywhere near the swamp. Not even close. Some theorized Rowan might have hallucinated due to exhaustion or fear, while others speculated about supernatural forces guiding him through the wilderness. Regardless of the reason, one thing remained certain. Rowan's survival defied logic. As days turned into weeks, the case gained national attention. Psychologists studied Rowan's behavior, attempting to piece together his memories of that night. Detectives revisited the crime scene, analyzing every detail for clues. Was it possible someone had abducted him and left him in the swamp? If so, why? Why leave him alive, untouched, and miraculously dry? These questions lingered long after the media frenzy subsided, leaving behind a trail of unanswered mysteries. Fast forward to 2023, and technology offers tantalizing possibilities for unraveling secrets long buried. Forensic experts revisit evidence collected during the initial investigation, using advanced DNA analysis and environmental tracking tools. Meanwhile, Social media platforms buzz with theories, some credible, others far-fetched, yet all contributing to a global conversation about safety, accountability, and the unknown. Families affected by similar losses gather annually to honor their loved ones, finding solace in shared memories and unwavering determination. "We won't stop fighting," says Linda Hayes during a memorial service held near Richmond. Her voice cracks with emotion, underscoring the personal stakes involved. Now, let's rewind to another case, one eerily similar yet equally perplexing. Geraldine, also just 2 years old, disappeared under bizarre circumstances in the heart of Georgia. Her family was enjoying a quiet evening at their cabin when Geraldine wandered off unnoticed. A frantic search ensued involving neighbors, friends, and eventually law enforcement. They scoured the surrounding woods, checked abandoned buildings, and searched nearby lakes. Days passed, and still, no sign of Geraldine. Hope faded, replaced by despair. Then came the twist. Weeks later, a fisherman stumbled upon skeletal remains near a remote stretch of riverbank roughly 40 miles from the cabin. Initial reports suggested Geraldine had drowned, but inconsistencies in the evidence raised red flags. For instance, traces of sedatives were found in her system, suggesting foul play. Additionally, locals reported seeing strange lights hovering over the area the night she vanished. Could these phenomena hold the key to her disappearance? Or were they merely coincidental anomalies? Detective James Peterson took charge of the case, poring over witness statements and re-examining physical evidence. During interviews, he uncovered unsettling details. One neighbor claimed to have seen a man lurking near the property days before Geraldine went missing. Another described hearing loud noises coming from the woods late at night. Piecing together these accounts, Peterson developed a theory. Geraldine may have fallen victim to someone close to the family, perhaps motivated by jealousy or revenge. However, not everyone agreed with Peterson's conclusions. Emily Carter, a forensic psychologist specializing in childhood trauma, proposed an alternative explanation. What if Geraldine hadn't wandered off alone? What if she encountered something or someone that frightened her into hiding? Carter pointed to cases where young children exhibited heightened awareness of danger, often retreating to secluded areas until help arrived. Could Geraldine have done the same, albeit in a far more extreme manner? Advancements in artificial intelligence provided fresh insights, sifting through thousands of pages of archived material to identify patterns previously overlooked. Brian Carter, a programmer turned self-taught investigator, flagged several instances where missing toddlers were discovered in unexpected locations, often miles from where they were last seen. His findings suggested a possible link between Geraldine's case and others across the region. Were we looking at isolated incidents or part of something larger? The atmosphere shifted dramatically as public interest in Geraldine's story grew once again. Social media groups dedicated to solving cold cases attracted thousands of members worldwide, sparking lively debates about potential motives and culprits. Conversations ranged from speculative musings to well-researched arguments supported by data. One member, Amanda Grant, gained prominence when she identified striking similarities between Geraldine's disappearance and other unsolved cases involving young children in Georgia during the same period. Her work prompted authorities to explore connections previously dismissed as coincidental. Yet, despite these advances, fundamental questions remain unanswered. Who or what drove Geraldine so far from home? Why was she found in such a remote location? And most hauntingly, why did she appear untouched, despite traveling such a great distance? These mysteries weigh heavily on those closest to the case. Detective Peterson finds himself haunted by dreams of shadowy figures whispering riddles he cannot solve. Emily Carter spends sleepless nights researching obscure archives, searching for patterns others might have missed. Even casual observers feel drawn into the vortex of uncertainty surrounding this infamous tragedy. As 2023 dawned, researchers announced they had decoded messages embedded in artwork created by key suspects during their incarceration. Using sophisticated image recognition software, analysts identified recurring themes tied to specific locations and dates corresponding to known crimes. This revelation suggested the suspect may have left deliberate clues intended to taunt authorities even beyond the grave. Was he playing games right up until the end? Emily Carter asked during a private meeting with colleagues. Her voice cracked slightly, betraying exhaustion mixed with awe at the complexity of their subject. At the same time, advancements in AI offer unprecedented opportunities for analyzing large datasets related to Geraldine's case. Programs developed by Brian Carter sift through countless pages of archived material, flagging patterns previously overlooked by human eyes. His findings suggest possible ties between Geraldine's disappearance and broader criminal networks operating throughout Georgia during the early 2000s. Are we looking at isolated incidents or part of something larger? Brian asks during a live Q&A session, drawing nods of agreement from participants. And so, the legend of Geraldine persists not merely as a relic of the past, but as a testament to human resilience in the face of incomprehensible evil. For every answer uncovered, new questions arise. For every step forward, obstacles loom large. Yet through it all, one truth remains clear. The quest for understanding transcends generations, binding us together in our shared desire for peace and resolution. So, next time you walk through your neighborhood, take a moment to observe the faces around you. Who knows what secrets lie beneath the surface? Remember, while stories like Geraldine's may terrify us, they also remind us of our capacity to overcome adversity. Because in the end, it isn't the darkness that defines us, it's how we choose to respond to it. Do you think Geraldine's case will ever be fully solved? Or does its identity remain forever shrouded in darkness? Let me know in the comments below. Your thoughts matter, and they shape the stories I share next. So go ahead, type it out, and hit send. I'll see you there. And that was another story lost in time. But stay with me, because there's still more waiting in the shadows.